What I told the in-person folks, and I will tell you, is that adjunct teaching is how I got my start. And a lot of community college instructors did the same thing. It's impactful, it's powerful. Students love what you bring to class. You bring out real world experience, most current up-to-date industry trends. And for that, we are very grateful to have you on our team. You are an amazing group of people, and we really are happy to have you. Now, my office is here in the TED building on the main campus. If you ever get over this way, I'm on the 3rd floor, all the way to the end after the elevator. You're welcome to come by and see me anytime. I'm right beside this fancy lady. And I want to see, does anybody have any questions for me before I get out of the way and let you learn the fun stuff?
Feel free to take yourself off mute or throw a question in the chat.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the link to work.
No, you're good. You're good.
I did a fabulous job. No one has questions.
Well, we say that, and I'm not even seeing the chat right now because of all my little screen manipulations. Are we seeing anything in the chat, Jamie?
There's nothing, just a lot of introductions. I think we're good as far as questions.
Great, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all again for being here. We really do appreciate your time. If I can do anything for you, please let me know.
Thank you, Dolly.
You're welcome. All right, so in addition to Dr. Horton's introduction, if we haven't met face-to-face or in another online forum before, I will say hello to you officially. I'm Sarah Parlier, and I serve as the Director for Teaching and Learning. I'm very fortunate to have a strong team alongside me that includes Jamie Warren, who is helping drive today's Zoom call, as well as Leah Knowles, our LMS administrator, and Wes Shipley, who is our part-time instructional designer. So we make up the team of Teaching and Learning, and we are very excited for the start of the academic year and really looking forward to working alongside you as well. We have, like I said, we have a pretty full agenda. So let me just show you quickly where we're headed next. We're going to get into a session with Jennifer Treadway. Jennifer is chair of our Arts and Sciences department, and so she's going to share with us some tips. We call this smooth sailing. Then after that, we'll have another session, and this one will be with Jamie Warren, our very own instructional designer. He's going to talk about some advanced tips for my courses and how we can run a tight ship. Then I'll have some anchor points for you, talking about some resources. I've got some documents to share, and we'll walk through those together. And then I've got a few highlights, some main points that I'll share at the end as news from the main deck. So that's where we're going. We'll go ahead and get started first with our breakout session, Smooth Sailing Habits to Keep Your Course on Course with Jennifer Treadway. And I'm going to stop sharing so that Jennifer can start. And again, feel free to please use that chat window. I now can see it. And you can also take yourself off mute and ask questions or share comments at any time.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jennifer Treadway. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know. If you do know me, then you know that tech is not necessarily my number one skill set. So if things go wrong, let's just assume that I'm the problem, because I usually am. Are you seeing what I'm putting down?
We are.
Okay, good. Okay. Oh, wait, that's what we're missing. Y'all missed it, the in-person. I had a full costume, so unfortunately you're missing out on that, but you're here and we're glad to have you. Thanks for being here. Welcome aboard. We're going to talk about some habits that might keep your course on course. And as I told the group last night, I don't know that I have anything groundbreaking. I have no new exciting tips, probably nothing that's brand new to you. But I'm hoping that maybe I've got some specifics that you haven't considered. And then I'm also going to make you do some work. So I can't see anything on my screen except for my presentation. So Sarah, I'm going to need your help because I am going to be calling on people because this is an interactive situation. I found out that my tips and tricks were really awesome. But last night when I would call on people and ask for them to give me their ideas, that's when the real good stuff happened. So let's dive in and talk about some tips. So this is ahoy, welcome, you're captains of your own ship. when Sarah told me that the theme was going to be a cruise theme, I got real excited because I do love a theme. So you're going to see that threaded through this entire thing. So I'm going to give you 7 habits, and at the end of each habit, I'm going to call on somebody and ask them to give me some ideas that maybe they're kicking around or something that they've tried that was really useful. So up to the first one, we've got chart your course and stay on the lookout. Successful adjuncts plan ahead before the semester begins. Think about mapping out your syllabus, major assignments, due dates. A clear course map helps both you and your students avoid getting lost at sea. So here are just 2 like specifics in regards to this habit. Before each semester, I get a paper calendar because I'm old, so I like things on paper. And I put all my assignments on little sticky notes, lay it all out, because visually looking at how the assignments and the units, modules are going to flow, that tickles my brain in a special way that helps me to really see the big picture. And also, I find that a weekly routine really helps me. So I pick one day a week, and on that day, I'm going to block off some time in my schedule. I'm going to scan the grade book and then make a concentrated effort to have a touch point with any student that looks like they may be struggling. Sometime before I would do that, before I would schedule it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that this week. And then it would get pushed to the bottom of my to-do list. So now I actually add it onto my schedule. Sometimes it can, the last sentence, like spotting icebergs before they hit. So now I'm going to open it up. Sarah, I can't see any participants. So would you randomly call on your favorite person besides me? And I'm going to ask them to please share a planning or progress monitoring strategy that works for them.
How about Christina Prosnak?
Christina Prosnak, one of my favorites.
Hello. I'm first. Okay. Let me see. A roadmap for students. I try to put one, I guess in the first week, I kind of give them an idea of the different essays that we're going to have and how many weeks those are going to take. So I know a lot of the feedback I got from students was getting an idea of how long it's going to take me. So one thing, to complete an essay, one thing I was thinking of doing for this semester is kind of giving them a better idea of that and sort of breaking down each week as I go and giving them sort of little goals. So like for this week, we're going to be doing the rough draft, and you're only going to have 3 weeks for this whole essay. So maybe just giving them an idea of like, you need a 6-page essay. Let's get 2 pages done this first week. Something like that to kind of give them a better idea to manage their time. Because I think that's what a lot of them, at least for my classes, seem to struggle with. Like, I know that's the deadline, but now it's here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I've got.
Awesome. That's a great one. I think the clear deadlines, clearly laying out, this is what's going to be happening every single week. I think that's really helpful for students. Big fan. Thank you, Christina. Next up, we're going to go to habit number 2, drop anchor in a tidy LMS. So I hope you're familiar with my courses. If you're not, then you are about to be in for a big old treat for yourself. You want to keep your content organized like a tidy cabin, easy to find, labeled clearly, extra life jackets, extra resources, stowed neatly in the modules. So, and I call these, because I'm so clever, pro tip from the poop deck, by the way. Using a predictable format every week, I find is really helpful for students. I teach theater a lot, so I have a lot of like imagery and videos and artsy stuff, but keeping each week looking similar, you're going to have your funky graphic, but then you're going to have, here's what the week looks like. Here are resources. So videos that I've made about work that we're talking about, or extra YouTube links that they can click on to enhance their knowledge. And then they're going to have the assignments down on the bottom. So every single week it's going to look predictable. And I think that that can help students kind of like stay on track. One feature that I did not know about until a couple of years ago, and maybe this will be new to you too, I didn't know until a few years ago that you could switch the role, so that in the settings, you can switch your role to see it exactly how it's going to look for students. And it's not always the same. So I thought I had things formatted and laid out really nicely. And then when I was shown how to switch role to student, it didn't look nearly as nice. So I toggle back and forth between the instructor view and the student view just to make sure that it's looking exactly the way that I want it to. Okay, so now we're on for time for you to do some work. Captain's log. How do you keep your course in tip-top shape? Sarah, would you mind randomly selecting another contestant?
Can't even be random about it. I'm going to be Randy about it. Randy Hollifield.
Awesome. Randy, talk to
Hello,
us.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I try to keep all of my everything laid out pretty much in a fashion where students can understand what's going on. I try not to go off course each week. I try to keep everything kind of looking the same. So I try to keep everything organized, and I usually have my course planned out from the very beginning to the very end. So in the syllabus, it'll tell you, okay, week 1, this is what you'll do, and this is the due date, and it's all the way through week 16. I'm not used to saying week 16 because this is the only school I teach 16-week courses at. It's usually 14 or 8 where I teach, but yeah, I let them know that so there's no surprises, and they know, okay, in week 2 or week 3, and I always have the dates laid out there too, so they know, okay, what is week 2 or what's week 3? Maybe they don't know that. Because I usually generate that in a spreadsheet. I have a formula that will generate that once I get the starting date and the ending date, and then I can take out for like the week of Thanksgiving or a fall break or whatever we're having, what happened, whatever semester we have to be in. And I usually keep everything laid out like that. Then I'll have a header at the top of each, like, okay, assignments and all the assignments, and then a discussion board, and then supplements, whatever supplements we have, so that they can kind of follow along and understand where they're at in case they kind of maybe get a little bit lost. But that's what I try to do in each module each week for the course.
Awesome. Sounds like organization's really important to you. So I'm a big fan of that too. Love that. And I got to have all my weeks all done beforehand too, or I get nervous. So I hear you on that. Thank you for sharing that. Next up, we're going to go to habit number 3, communicate like a cruise director. Check your emails regularly, respond promptly, but don't be afraid to set boundaries too. Think of yourself as the cruise director, visible, approachable, and able to calm stormy waters with a reassuring message. So I have a caveat there. I feel really passionately about communicating with students early, often, as much as possible. But I am not a smart person. And up until a few years ago, if I woke up to get a drink of water at 2:30 in the morning, I would check my email. And if a student had sent me a question, I would respond at 2:30 in the morning. I was on my computer all weekend long, just in case a student needed assistance with something. That was not a smart move. Now that am working on trying to set those boundaries, I've let students know I don't check email on the weekends, and I don't check email after 5 p.m. And I haven't had any pushback from students. So if you feel like you need to give that extra time and effort, I mean, maybe you do, but also boundaries are not a bad thing. But here are some pro tips that might assist you in other areas of communication. How about a weekly Monday message with reminders and encouragement? So one of the adjuncts that we have working for us, who's absolutely fabulous, is Rusty Roberson. And he is a big fan of using that course announcement feature to stay connected with students. So if you're dipping into his course, you're seeing that he is posting announcements every couple days just to keep students on track, make sure they know what's happening, give them just kind of generic course-wide feedback on some stuff that maybe he's noticing happening in the assignments or discussion forums. And that is a really great way to stay connected with students. And then another instructor that we have, Gabriel Alshier, has an intro video that you watch the intro video, and then there's a graded assignment attached to it. And I thought that was just a fabulous idea. I had been making intro videos the whole time. And you know how many students have watched my intro videos in the last 5 years? I don't know, 3. They wouldn't watch it. And I spent a lot of time on it because I'm going to put graphics and I'm going to make it pretty, and no one was watching it. And then students would have questions that I had answered in the intro videos, but they never watched the intro video. So I tried a new thing this summer where you couldn't see the rest of the course until you watched the intro video. So I'm a big fan of that. And all those little niggling questions that I answer in the intro video, I didn't get those over the summer. So another thing to consider. Your turn. What's a communication habit that helps your students feel supported? Sarah, who we calling on?
I'm wondering what Dr. Turk does. I know that she's got a lot of student questions all the time, teaching both for us and at her full-time her full-time school. Yeah.
I do answer emails in the evenings and the weekends because I'm adjunct and a lot of times that's when I can. I also point out to them that email is better than sending me messages through the course because I can answer emails from my phone and going through the course means logging in. But I use the announcements as well. And my responses to their homeworks. I try to make responses personally to each of their homeworks as well. But my what I really love is being able to send the warnings and the kudos. I'm really glad that we now get the kudos that we can send.
Mm-hmm. Great. I particularly love when you were talking about how you prefer, this is how you prefer students to communicate with you. So I'm big on email too. So my courses, if I'm on my phone and I'm out in meetings, but I'm in between a meeting, maybe I don't have my laptop, students know that they're going to get a quicker response from me if you email me. And so letting students know what your preference is, I think that's a great pro tip. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we're moving on to habit number 4, add a splash of personality. Bring your authentic self to your teaching. Students connect best with instructors who are approachable and real. Don't be afraid to toss in some fun facts, corny jokes, or themed discussion posts. It's your cruise. Make it memorable. So here are 2 specific things that I wanted to talk about. Share your quirks in your intro videos. Let students know you're a real and fascinating person because you are. I was talking last night to the group in person that I don't know anything about philosophy. And I'd never thought that I was a person who cared about philosophy. But I've been watching Eric Williamson's videos, and he teaches philosophy and religion here for us. And I am entertained and interested and then want to find out more. And that's just the hallmark of somebody who can really grab you. And it's because he keeps them fun and he keeps them flowing. And you really get to see his personality shine through. So don't be afraid to let that happen. Think about using fun discussion starters, like what TV character would ace this class? When I ask questions in my discussion forums for a theater appreciation class, and I talk about the 4 different types of theater stages and which one you think is most effective, I get some very wonderful paragraphs that AI have written for me. But when I ask questions like in the section on musical theater, okay, you have to write a musical based on your life. What's going to be the title? And who's going to be the actor that's going to play you? Then students get really excited to have those kinds of discussion questions. If you can relate things to things in their lives that they care about, then maybe that can hook them into caring a little bit more about what it is that you're trying to teach them. Captain's log. How do you balance fun and flexibility in your class? Sarah, who are we going to talk to? You're muted, Sarah.
Of course I am. Trying to behave myself. I am really curious to know how this is handled in classes that may not look fun from the outside, but require there to be that level of engagement and also the flexibility. So I'm going to call on Nick Roberts. Nick teaches business courses for us, and I know he brings a lot of his personal story into class too. So I'm curious.
Hey, Sarah. Yeah, I think with business, the nice thing is just sort of the current flow of events and circumstances. So what I like to do is whatever is relevant, whether it's sort of interest rates or whatever concepts we may be learning, we'll tie it into what's happening, or historical events, like the Great Recession and financial crisis. So I think that creates engagement and some real interest in the concepts and topics. And again, having the benefit of sort of the dynamic situation, the economy and business, it's very easy to take sort of relevant topics to educate and make it interesting.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's a really great point. Talking about relevancy. I think that is a connection that students aren't often making. I get, feedback from my own courses and courses that I have adjuncts teaching. Like, what does this have to do with my life? What does this have to do with what I want to do? And I think that maybe I certainly could be better. Maybe other people could be better at like really helping them connect those dots in ways that I think are just apparent, but maybe they're not as apparent to somebody who doesn't do theater all the time. So really kind of pointing out the relevancy. This is why this is important today. This is why this is going to be important for you tomorrow. I think that's a really great tip. Thank you for sharing. Okay, next up is going to be habit number 5, lifeboats at the ready. Provide support resources early and often. Remind students about tutoring, counseling, tech help, or accommodations. Great adjuncts don't just teach. They also point passengers to safety when the seas get rough. Here are a couple things to talk about. Include tutoring and counseling links whenever it makes sense. One of our adjuncts, Brandon Ward, has an exhaustive course resources list in his course home. All of these extra resources that students can go to when they need a little extra help, or if they just want to learn a little bit more. Things that aren't necessarily covered in class, but Brandon thinks that students might find interesting. Also, consider asking if the Student Success Center could drop into your class. Even if it's an online class, the Student Success Center would be happy to investigate ways that they can partner with you to help the students be more successful. Captain's Log. What's one way you support your students or get support yourselves? Sarah?
I'm wondering what Brown does. Brown's been supporting students for a long time.
Talk to us, Brown.
I was unmuting. Thank you. And of course, all y'all know my real name is Charlie Brown, so I'll hold him out like that. I was thinking about that. I obviously always include that in my syllabus, and I do that. I've worked with students with issues, many times over the years. So that that's always something I try to do. I work a couple of things that I think work from my type of class, IT oriented classes. We will sit there and say, okay, here is a question. Okay. And while they're working it, I usually have a forum set up, and they can go into the forum and they can post a question and say, what does it mean to do that? Now, instead of me immediately answering that question, I try to get them to share within the class. So I get the class to give you ideas. So we, and then of course I tack on after that. But that seems to work out. That kind of helps people understand what's going on, gives them some ideas of ways to get assistance and stuff like that. But that's sort of my viewpoint anyway.
That's awesome. That is a great example. I remember when I was back in undergrad and I had to take a science class. And science was really, really a struggle for me. And the only way that I learned was with me and my peers trying to teach each other concepts. Like that taught us where our knowledge gaps were. But we had each other to say, oh, actually, you're really wrong about that. And here's why I think you're wrong about that. So that is absolutely a great way and can help students feel really empowered to be in charge of their own learning. So that's a great tip. Thank you. Number 6, are we okay on time, Sarah? I don't remember the agenda when I'm supposed to shut up. We're good? Okay. Habit number 6, keep learning between ports. Even the most seasoned captains know the journey never truly ends. There's always something new to learn between ports. Keep trying to grow your teaching toolkit. Attend a short webinar. What's the deal with AI? Explore new tech tools or test a fresh LMS feature. Think about joining a professional community or Facebook group for instructors. I like the Reddit subgroup called Professors. So if you don't do Reddit, then you won't care. But if you do Reddit, they've got a professors subgroup. And I get a lot of really great ideas about assignments, or the hot topic discussion in the professors board now, of course, is AI. And what are ways that we can combat it? What are ways that we can use it? What are the pros and cons to all of that? And I think I probably get most of my information from the professors Reddit subgroup. We've got an instructor here, Natalie Callahan, who will not stop printing out articles about effective teaching strategies, and she wants to talk to people about it all the time, literally all the time. So connecting with your peers can be a great way to talk. I love talking about pedagogy. And so if you can find a group like that, that might be really helpful for you. You think you can share your ideas, share assignments, and maybe partner together on some stuff. Another idea, try one new feature in your LMS. I can be a little tech shy, But I also like playing in a sandbox. So I recently went to teaching and learning and asked them to show me how to use H5Ps. Do you know H5Ps? If you already know H5Ps, then just, close your eyes for a second. But if you don't know H5Ps, you make a video and then you embed questions within the video, and the students can't move on until they answer the question. So they have to actually actively participate in watching that video. And so I'm a really big fan of that. Now we're going to talk to one of you about something that you have learned or tried recently. Sarah, who's going to take it away?
This one's a little hard for me. I'm going to call on Matt Belcher, because he's just started working for us. And so he's just had to learn the LMS.
Excellent. Matt, talk to us.
Hi, nice to see you guys today. So the first thing that popped into my mind is I wouldn't say tried recently. I'm actually trying next week. I'm an adjunct with Ohio University in their math department too, and I'm actually going to a conference called QuantNet, and it's a time for instructors to all get together, share resources, share project ideas, share different assignments, homework strategies, success tips for students, that kind of stuff. So like I said, I haven't tried it, but I will be trying it next week. So I'm excited to be more involved in that like professional organization that can swap ideas. And then on the LMS side, a lot of the times it's just Google. I also will look at things like Reddit and help pages and the random miscellaneous things when I just Google my courses, how to do blah, blah, blah. And I can find great ideas just across the web on that.
Yeah, I mean, we have limitless resources at our fingertips now. And plus with teaching and learning, you don't just have to do a Google search. You also can just have somebody hold your hand here, which is one of my favorite things. Just last week, I was trying to figure out, wait a minute, what's the difference again between weighted grading and simple grading and natural grade? I could never remember it. So what a great help having the world at our fingertips. Thank you, Matthew, for sharing. Habit number 7, reflect after the voyage. After the semester ends, take stock. What worked well? What needs adjusting? Keep a captain's log of ideas to improve for the next trip. Great adjuncts are lifelong learners, always ready for the next cruise. And here are 2 specific things. Keep a course tweaks doc during the term. My system is not efficient. I keep a ton of Post-it notes just strewn about. And I also sometimes will create just like hidden assignments so I can just kind of play around a little bit in a course. And then I also sometimes just say, oh, I'm not going to forget that. I'm going to remember that assignment didn't work in that week. I won't forget. And then I forget. So if you're me, don't rely on a stellar memory. Yours might be okay. And then also, once the next course shell is updated, if you're teaching the same class the next semester, then maybe you want to go ahead and start working on that as soon as you can to go ahead and make those changes if it's something that you want to tweak moving forward. So this is going to be our last captain's log. What's something you've improved in your course over time? Sarah, who's the lucky victim?
It's Tiffany. I want to shout out Tiffany because she's prepping some classes for us that she's taught at other institutions. And I know she's doing a lot of this right now.
Great. Tiffany, tell us something.
Hey, okay, so you can hear me, right? I got it off.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I too keep a master list in the front of each notebook. So, one of my classes I've taught for 10 years. And there'll be something that I want to tweak throughout, the semester. I might catch something I've misspelled or something, just little, but I keep a master list in the front and write down everything that I want to change. And I might do it before the semester's out, but it's after the fact. And then I too will also put sticky notes on everything. I'm old school. I like to write physical copies of everything. If you give me something like electronic, I'll never look at it.
That's actually a really good idea. I never considered having a notebook for a class. That would be a great way for me to be able to write longer notes to myself as opposed to week 3, that assignment sucks, fix it. Having a notebook where I could put all those ideas, that's a really great idea. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so final boarding call. This just kind of lists all the little things that we talked about: charting your course, dropping anchor in a tidy LMS, communicating like a cruise director, add a splash of personality when you can. Keep the lifeboats at the ready so students have resources if they need extra help. Keep your learning between ports, reflect after the voyage, and that's it. So one final slide. Bon voyage. I hope you have a wonderful semester. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. Jennifer Treadway here at Blue Ridge Community College. I'm happy to talk to anybody about anything. Well, more or less.
Jennifer, before you scoot, I want to open it up for just a few minutes for questions, and feel free again to throw your question in the chat if you'd rather stay on mute, but we love to see faces and hear voices too. So either way. And if you've got something you want to share, that's even better.
Yep. And I didn't check the chat out at all
Yeah, you're
during the
good.
presentation. I'll go back now and like check all that. But if you did drop a question in the chat, if you want to talk about it now, I think we've got a couple minutes.
Brain Fuse. No, our tutoring platform is called Thinking Storm, Randy, and you can access it in a few different places. There's actually even a space in the LMS where we can create a link for students. Good question. All right, I'm scanning the screen. I'm scanning the chat. I'm not seeing any questions yet. If you think of one, you can always throw it in the chat or mention it later. For now, we'll go ahead and move on. I want to invite our instructional designer, Jamie Warren, to take the stage. He is going to be talking us through running a tight ship, advanced tips for my courses. Jamie, you are welcome to share your screen whenever you are ready.
Okay, is everyone seeing this? Everyone seeing me okay? And hearing me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, good. All right. Thanks, Sarah, and thanks everyone for being here. Today, gotta say, I really dropped the ball on the whole cruise theme. As far as this, there's not a lot of unification in my presentation, except for this image, and I'm not sure the ship is coming or going. So, and that's the way I feel every day sometimes. So, so anyway, except for that nice icon. So let's just jump into it. So with this, this link is live on the web. So I will get I'll get the URL to put that in the chat, and so you can access that anytime. There's also a QR code at the bottom of this document. So I will jump in, and I'll say this is an advanced course, sort of, but we certainly don't have to keep it there. These the objectives today, you know, I've got a plan, but if we kind of get off track, if there's something that you just need to know about, it is very likely that someone else in this chat is wondering the same thing, or maybe there's something you've discovered. We're all playing from the same book here. So really, I'm going to try not to overwhelm you, but if I do say, hey, pump the brakes a second, let's slow down and maybe do that again. So I'll just jump in to these particular tips. So again, I'll say right off none of these are required for you to actually do. These are just some quality added things that you can do for your students, and some other things that you can do, sort of be nice, to be kind to future you. You know, we have about 10 days or so before the semester starts. So each of these things is an action that you can take today or an hour from now or whatever. And even right now, if you have two screens and you have your LMS open, I'll be walking you through this. I'll be kind of tabbing through the browser in this. So I'll go ahead and get started with the first one. And again, like I said before, some of you may know some of the topics in here, but I'm going to go ahead and cover it in some detail if I can. So let's get on to restricted access. This is one of those. It's kind of it's a function in the LMS that allows you to completely stop a student, and you can apply logic to a certain scenario, so that you control either when or for whom that activity is released or visible. Our main case at Blue Ridge is going to be the syllabus confirmation quiz. If you've ever taught before, you know, the students have to prove that they took an action in the course, and it has to happen within well, it's like the first week or the first 2 weeks or something. But basically, if they don't, you know all this, if they don't do that, they have to be dropped. And a lot of teachers will restrict access to the other modules until that happens. So I'll show you kind of what it looks like. So here I've got a master course that I've been working on. So right now you can see that it is not available. So I'll show you how I got there. Let's go down to, so in this header image, we can go to Edit Summary. And this is where you can add module images in your objectives or in introduction. So on the right-hand column, you only have one option. So I'll just delete this and start over here. So we want to add restriction. And so here where you see the logic that you can apply, since the confirmation quiz is an activity and it has to be completed, we want to use this one. And this is by and large the one that you're going to use the most. So we set the activity completion. In this dropdown, we have a list of all the activities in your course. We want to come check that. This should be fairly intuitive. You mark complete, must be complete with a pass grade. So that they have to actually pass the confirmation quiz. And if you want to add another restriction, you can do that here. Otherwise, just save your changes and it's going to look about the same. So the restricted access is kind of a cool thing. If you want to get really fancy with saying, well, okay, in order to unlock this activity, you have to, get an A in another activity, or really the dates and the grades and the activity completion are probably the ones. I don't know of any teachers who are using like advanced, like nested logic. If they're out there, I'd love to learn from them. They probably don't need our help if they're applying advanced logic. So anyway, I'll kind of wait for someone to speak up if they've ever done that. Again, with this document, I have videos that will take you through all this at the very bottom of this document. So if you don't get some of the steps that I'm talking about, you can go look at this later. So, and again, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, and if you have any questions, just please, say pump the brakes or go back and do that again. So, one thing Jennifer was talking about, and I loved some of the things that she was saying about putting yourself in the course and making it as much of your own as you can. And I think to the end game, that's really what all this is about, isn't it? I mean, we're just trying to make things, use some of the automation that exists in the LMS and some of the tools that we have. And timed announcements is a really good one for if you have multiple announcements, if you do several per week, or if you just want to kind of plan it out through the semester. This is something that you can do all at once. And so I will walk you through this as well. So let me go back into my master, and generally in the course home. Now the announcements at their very core it's a discussion forum, but the way it functions is it's only one way. So the students can't reply to them. So when you post an announcement, or discussion topic as it's called in the LMS here, you put your subject and message here, and then clicking advanced, it's going to bring up these options about setting a calendar date. And when that is enabled, the iPhone, I don't know what I'm saying iPhone for, I'm sorry. It's been a long week. So when you click enable, it's not going to be visible to the student until that date. And the same with the display end, that it won't be visible. So really handy thing to do. You could just crank out like 10, 12 announcements. But if you didn't kind of want to look ahead that far, there's something that you could do. Say you have an assignment date that has changed, and you want to send an announcement out to announce that change. Well, you could actually time an announcement to where there's one that comes out before the day it's due. And it's kind of like, okay, let's just take care of this communication. I know there's such thing as too many announcements, and you don't want to overwhelm your students with emails because they're just going to not read them. But again, this is really up to your preference. I just want to show you what the potential is and what the possibilities are here. Yeah, so just speaking of communication and module visibility, I want to get into some of these functions up here at the top because they are super handy. So you've likely seen these before, but in your course, to the just to the right of your table of contents. Okay, not on course home, but like getting started and all the other modules. You're going to see these icons here. So this the move, of course, moves the entire module. the eyeball here will hide the module. So I'm going to kind of suggest a routine of what you do each week that will help you and your students to make sure you're all seeing the same thing. As far as when a module opens, okay, you can set a lot of teachers will hide all the modules except for the one that they're currently on, and that's a really good strategy teaching wise, because it doesn't allow the students to really look ahead and become distracted by what's coming in the course. So hiding the module is not quite I guess that's the heavy lift as restricting the access. So then it's a lot easier to hide and show a module rather than to remove the restricted access logic and everything. So that's something you can do. So say it's Thursday, the new module opens on Friday. So you would go in and say module 1 is open through your announcement, and then you would show it. And the last thing you can do in these 3 dots, also called a kebab, you can go down and highlight this, and what that will do, see that now there's a green dot. When the student logs into the course and they click your course card, when a module is highlighted, it will take them directly there on just by default. So it's a great thing for them to keep their place. So as Jennifer was talking about, keep helping them keep their progress. The highlighting is something that is a really easy win right there. So make sure you're doing that.
Hey, Jim, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there anything wrong with re-hiding a module once we're done with it? Can we do that? Can we hide the module back once we're done teaching it?
I don't see any reason that would be a problem. If you had assignments and quizzes that have closed and forums that may have already been graded, as long as it's highlighted and the students knows where they are, I think it's just up to the teacher. Some people really like to minimize the clutter, and they see the course kind of as an extension of their own organization. So I think it would just be a visual preference.
I think we've had some problems in the past. If somebody rehides something, though, it disappears from the student's grade book. So any assignments, remember, we've had that happen before with some teachers. So if it's once the student does assignments, if there are assignments in the module, even if they're closed, I don't think we can rehide because of the grade book.
Okay, well, yeah, and that's always a strange sea to swim in about what's going to happen with the grade book, and
Yeah.
it's hard to tell what's exactly going to happen there. So yeah,
Maybe just hide it until we get to it and then leave it visible after
and
that.
then leave it visible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for me. So I think let me check my list here. Okay, I think that was it for module visibility. Any other questions? Okay, yeah, that's fairly straight ahead. I'm going to move on to user overrides. Now, this is kind of a big one. We had a lot of good discussion last night at the in-person session about this, and the ways that, I'm sure one of you in your courses are going to get some kind of accommodation from Carolyn's office, whether the student needs more time or whatever it might be. So there's quite a few ways that you can do that. It only works in certain activities though. So this may not be a complete list, but I know the quizzes, assignments, and the lessons all have that override ability. So where you can set conditions for individual students. Let me jump into back into the test course here. Now I'll try to bring out some new interface changes as well. If you haven't looked around, there's a new menu here on the right. And one thing that's cool about this little block tower, it's called the toggle drawer, or what's it called? Toggle block drawer. Yeah, that's cool. All right, whatever. So it actually will show you what the information was on your course dashboard previously. So you can look at all the assignments, everything that you have in one list here from that toggle block drawer. So if I look at my assignments, I can go and I see all the list there. And so I'll go into an assignment. And from here, from the instructions, I can go over to the admin gear and then select override. And we add user override, and then it will, from the course list here, we'll give a list of our courses. Donald Duck, he's a terrible student. So he's always needing something. So I'll allow submissions, and you set this per activity. So as far as I know, there's not a way to do this in bulk and assign everything, but so you have to do this especially for whoever that's accommodating. And if I'm wrong about that, feel free to hop in, correct me. But anyway, you set your conditions here, and then you can save and enter another one for a different student, or just save and continue. So that can be a handy thing. Again, if you have a student who needs an accommodation and you're just not sure how to really add the strategy for how you should present your activities and content, then let us know. We try to come up with strategies, and that's one thing we do in teaching and learning. I'll go ahead and move on. These user overrides are kind of neat. Okay, all right. I'm gonna move on. Okay, so gradebook aggregation position. So this is just a fancy way of saying the course total is going to be at the beginning instead of the end. So I'll hop over there and show you how to do that. So from your course, you want to go into gradebook setup. All right, and go here to grader report. All right, we circle back over to the admin gear, and you see our menu has changed. So now we have grade administration and course administration. So pay attention to those menus. One of them is global, the other is contextual. So course administration is always there. But if you're like in the grade book, this will say grade administration. So just pay attention to that. So we go down to setup, and we go down to preferences, grader report. And I believe this one has already been changed, but by default, it will say report default last. And so you just want to change that to first, save changes. And so when we go back to our grader report, this is going to be the first thing you see. And that's just a convenience thing. Really, if you want to see how a student's doing, after you start really adding some things into your course, this is a real hassle getting through this entire database. And we work with chemistry courses, which have upwards of 200 to 300 things, activities. This could be a very long database. So it's just a little thing that you can do to make your life easier in the beginning. So would highly recommend that. Yeah, any questions about that? All right, cool. Nice. Okay, yeah, and the instructions are right there if you need to watch that. So reports. Okay, this one got spicy last night. So because I had some people who have tried this with varying levels of success. So I will say this, yes, with a caveat of sometimes they work, sometimes they really don't. I can't really say for sure, but it's an important thing. The problem we had last night was the chemistry teacher again. He had so much stuff in his course that the assignments and the activities really wouldn't load, and it ended up crashing the page. So I had this in the presentation. I'm going to go through and I'll show you where it is anyway, because it can be a handy thing if you're trying to set dates all at once in the course. So those of you who have had a course imported for you, if you go to the admin gear in reports and click dates, and hopefully this won't crash on me. It did last night. So we have this. Okay. All right, so it's thinking. So this was the problem we had last night. So ideally, okay, theoretically, what's supposed to happen here is this will list all of your activities, and then you have drop downs to where you can set the dates for each of those. Yeah, see, it's well, here's where I need my elevator music. All right, so we're crashing. So the reports is a good idea, but given the behavior last night, it may not be. The idea is that you can set all your course dates at one time through that report. The other one, which behaved a lot better last night, was the activity completion. and this really visually, this just gives you a nice graph of each of your students and what they've done in the course. So if you go to reports and then activity completion, then you can see that Donald really hasn't done a whole lot in this course, and oh, your whole roster will be there. So it's a really good thing of seeing, okay, I have like 8 students who haven't responded to this particular forum, and this is just a good report to see that with, to visually see it. Okay, what else do I have? Aggregation reports, activity completion. Okay, that's it for what I have. I think I'm ahead of schedule, maybe behind. I'm not real sure. So I will open it up for questions. If there's anything I need to, circle back with, I'm happy to do that. Yeah, just let the questions fly. If there's anything that you may know, that's a Jennifer did. Before I forget, Jennifer did mention earlier about showing the student view. Again, super handy tool. So in the admin gear, you're going to find course administration and go down to the switch role to, and here's where you select the student. So if I were to see, okay, so here's an example. I hid module 2 while as an instructor, and all of a sudden see now you can't see module 2 between those two. So it actually works. So we're seeing things as a student would see them. So you go to your profile and return to my normal role. Yeah. Just to kind of extend on one thing that Jennifer was talking about with the notifications and how do you show progress in your class. I will say, if you go to your profile and you go over to preferences, you can look at your notification preferences. And so this will basically show you all the ways that you're notified and the way the students are notified. Discussion forums or announcements are what you call a forced subscription. They're locked on. You have some utility here to change your notification preferences. The activity stream is like the live feed in your course. It's where it has your calendar, and it has a lot of these other functions that these assignments needed to be graded by something like that. So it's a live feed. The web, that's actually going to give more of the social media a notification up there. So that's where the web will show up. Email, of course, is your email, and mobile. Just the thing about the mobile app is it's built by OpenLMS, and it does kind of function as students can look at their assignment, but we don't recommend that they do any activities on the OpenLMS app, mainly just because we really can't control their experience on that. And if something crashes or if it breaks, if they're taking a quiz or something, there's a lot of variables there. So we don't recommend they're actually completing activities on the phone or any mobile device. So that's all I have. So are there any questions or anything else that we want to add? Happy to come back.
Jamie, this is Ashley. I have a quick question.
Mhm.
Would you mind sharing? I think y'all have like a instruction page on how to do the bulk change. I think that might be useful for some of my folks because they're just getting access. And so if they could like bulk change their due dates, that would be
Mhm.
helpful.
That was the dates report that we were just trying to.
Right, but I'm saying I think y'all already have like an instruction thing on that.
I'll have
Like
to look. I have to look for that. It may be in here in this resource guide.
Okay.
Is that maybe where you found it? I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, I just thought somebody sent something to me at one point, but if not, I can look around as well.
And I'll tell you, so Carol actually asked this question earlier this week. There was a release in Moodle 4.3 or 4.2, 4.3, where bulk edit was added as a feature, and OpenLMS decided to skip over it and did not enable it for Snap. So I just actually gave Carol that information overall, like just bulk edit feature in general. The reports bulk change for dates is like the one thing that we have found that's been really useful. And it's been working really, really well. But we just had an upgrade on, what was it, Wednesday? And so I'm wondering if this is tied to the upgrade. So I'm going to create a help desk ticket because it was working earlier this week. Like I was in there and didn't have any crashing happening.
Yeah, and it may be that, you know, I clicked this drop down and it just tried to load everything at one time. What I really wanted to show there were the accordions. So when you have something that's in your course, like these, well, these would show up.
There's no due dates on any of that stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the resource guide. So it seems to be working okay now. So say you had an assignment here when you there's one. So that's what you can set the dates here. Maybe it just needs, you just tread lightly. I think I get in a hurry with the LMS, and sometimes that's not the right move, because it doesn't care how much of in a hurry you are to do things if you're importing or doing something like this. So a little patience is always good with the LMS. A little, not a lot, not too much. So I hope that answers your question. In theory, this is a great tool. But again, last night I heard some feedback that it's just, it does tend to crash. So it is what it is.
Any other questions? Randy, I don't even know if I understand what you mean. You want to take yourself off mute?
Okay, you can also go in there and instead of going to each assignment and saying you need to change the points on something that's in there, you don't have it correct, or you need to change it to something else, you can go where he just went into the folders area there. And instead of setting the due dates, which is great, you can also go in and select each one of the assignments and adjust the points as you need it, instead of going into the course, having to go locate that particular assignment and adjusting the points. Because it'll have a hyperlink and it will open in a new window, and you can actually adjust the points from there. So if you had multiples in, say, week 1 or module 1 or week 2 or module 2, you could do several different ones instead of going to each one in each module for each assignment.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about this way, going into the assignment and then settings. And
Yeah, where you were at previously with setting the due dates, you can also go where you were to set the point value instead of each individual assignment itself.
Okay, in the reports?
In the reports, yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thanks. That was dates again.
So if you go to reports, you can actually see where all the assignments are for each module or week, how you have your setup. And you can actually go in and change the point value there instead of having to hunt it down and wherever it's located and go in. It's a lot quicker that way.
Okay. Randy, which one was that option in? Was that activity?
Mm-hmm.
That was under folders as well, where you were just previously, just a few moments ago.
Randy, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it on my screen and I'm not seeing any ability to go into the points. All that we're seeing, is that something you guys can do at McDowell?
Okay, so I'm going into my course, and whenever I go into let me just pick one from here.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to go over to the cogwheel, then I'm going to go in and pick reports, and then I'll go from reports down to dates.
Yeah.
And then when you get to dates, of course, you have everything listed, depending on whether it's weeks or modules or however how you have your course laid out. This takes a minute to load, and the more you have, the longer it takes to load this. So mine's going to take a second because I got a lot of content in this one. But once it gets loaded,
You're welcome to share your screen.
let's see. Hang on just a sec. Let me get back where you're at.
We love learning from other people.
Okay, I'm back. I think I'm back. Let's see if I got back over there. Yeah. So, And now I've lost my place. There we go. I've got so many tabs open in different things. So I am in that one, so I'll just go ahead and do a share. And this should be coming up in this class. Can you see mine now? You see where I'm located here?
Yep.
Okay. And you see where he was at before?
Mhm.
Okay, so let's say I want to go to, let's say, chapter 3.
Mhm.
Then you see right here is all the assignments that's in there, right? You got the dates there, but you also have all the assignments there. See?
Yeah.
So if I say I wanted to go to a quiz, so this quiz here, say, oh, I probably got the points wrong. Well, I open this, it opens in a new window, and I've got to move this because I can't see you anymore. But anyway, you just click on grade, and you see you can change the grade right here.
Oh.
So just
Okay.
clicking that add restricted access option gives you access to all the settings. So that's cool. It's a nice little backdoor.
Yeah, so whenever you're done with this, you don't have to actually, worry about it because it's a separate window. See over here, once you change it, it'll change it for you. You can just get rid of that and say, "Oh, I need to go. Oh, I need to go to this one here and change that or whatever."
Nice.
Okay, I want to go that grade and change it to something else, and then close the tab again, and then you're back out again.
Love it.
So you can do all that here,
Yeah. Yeah, well, and for those of us who don't click on things unless we are absolutely sure what we're doing, clicking on something that says add restricted access doesn't immediately translate to all the settings. So thank you.
Yeah, I just thought that was a little bit handy because it does have all of your, all of your material here. This one here I have in chapters because I do mine, some of them in chapters, some of them about weeks. It'll say like week it starts here and whatever, have the due date here.
Sure.
It just depends on the course I'm working in. And this is actually from McDowell, so it'll look a little bit different. They have a different theme than you guys do.
Yeah, but I will confirm, when I can share my screen. I'm taking
Okay. Okay, let me get out of there. Stop sharing. Okay. Okay, I'm out.
So you should be seeing my screen now, and I'm in somebody's interpersonal communications.
Yeah, okay.
Jumped in, and we have that same option. So we click down here where it says add restricted access, which this is like a little hot tip because it doesn't make any sense that would go to all.
I know it doesn't, but if you click on it, you can go over and you see grades there and you
right in.
Yeah, and you can change the grade or set a grade or
Yeah.
whatever you want. Normally what I'll do is I'll set the grade and then I'll take 60% of that and that's what you need to pass. So
Yeah.
they'll know, and it'll be green when they go in and look at the grade book, it'll be green, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to red or whatever. So that's handy. This will be handy.
Yeah. Well, that's super helpful. Thank you so much, Randy. We appreciate that tip. Does anybody have any other questions for Jamie or for the community at large about things that are happening in my courses that you'd like access to? And Brett, I see your comment in the chat and I will get right on that. Thank you. Okay, well, Jamie, thanks again so much for spending some time with us and walking us through how we can use those tools to make our course experience a little smoother and hopefully more efficient for ourselves and better for our students. We're
Sure,
going to go ahead and jump back into our agenda, and I will share with you that at this point we are in the Sarah portion of the evening of the afternoon. So I'm going to be spending some time sharing with you some different information. We'll go ahead and get started. And so moving on from our extended excursions, I'm now going to talk to you about some anchor points. I've got some resources to share with you, and I'm actually going to share those in the chat. And then I've also got like an additional collection of college resources that I can attach as a separate file, and I'll give that to you as well. So give me just a moment and I'll get all that to you. So here's the first resource. It's a Google Doc, and you are very welcome to open that up and look at that. But for the purposes of our session, I'm going to kind of walk you through a little bit of it myself as well. If you're working on multiple screens, you can certainly get to that while I'm working through it too, or you can just go ahead and open it and then just know that you'll be able to get back to it later. I'll also send it out to you as a one of my resources at the end of today's session. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pop into that and reshare. What you're going to see here in this one document is a lot of information. And so hopefully this is going to be helpful for you and give you something to go back to as a resource. Are you seeing you're seeing my screen now? Yeah. Okay. So what you see first is a table of contents that'll walk you through everything. And these are all linked. So when you click on them, you can get right to the page. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to just do a scroll because I'm going to walk you through the first few items. So what we see first is our updated support and resources information sheet. This is where you're going to get everybody's contact info for the folks that are really there to support you as an adjunct instructor. So you've got Jane listed right at the top. She's usually one of your first points of contact, Tori in HR. And then we have some additional resources for different aspects of student and employee well-being and safety. So we've got public safety, we've got Title IX for any reports around that. And then on the right-hand column, you see all of our names and contact info from teaching and learning. We have contact info for student accessibility, the registrar, and the help desk. So this page alone is probably a really helpful resource for you, and it has been updated with the most current contact information. The next page is a similar contact kind of sheet, but it's more departmentally organized. So this is by academic departments. And, I want to acknowledge that if you're teaching in a department, say you're teaching in arts and sciences, you may not see an immediate need to know the organizational structure of the rest of the college, but it may be helpful if you're working with a student who's struggling in a class and you want to try to find out if there's anything extra that you might need to know about that particular situation. You've got some department leadership information here. So we do make our directory visible on the Insider, which is our intranet. It's also referred to SharePoint, but we don't always even know who to look up. So this can kind of give you a starting place for that. Okay. And again, always ask questions in the chat if a question comes up, or take yourself off mute and let me know. Okay. Because it's a quick scroll. After these two resources, you're going to see the semester checklist. Your deans and chairs and lead instructors should be referring you to this. And again, this has been updated. I encourage you to use this as you start getting things ready, and then you work through those first couple of weeks, especially because we are an attendance taking institution. It's very important that you meet those deadlines for, say, census reporting and dropping non-attending students or no-show students. That's one of the things in here it's going to give you a quick reminder of, and you've got your links right away to get to those things. You can see the attendance workflow is linked through here. So that's why it's nice to have this document. You've got some quick links. At any time in this document, you can also double click into the footer and get back up to the table of contents. I've included some additional links on this third page, the fall 2025 syllabus template. We've got some other quick links here for you. So just a nice way to get to things. And I know that print handouts are really helpful sometimes too, but this is a great way, since we're meeting virtually, for you to get all this information. The next set of documents is a collection of checklists for our course expectations. And one thing that I'm incredibly proud of is the fact that our instructors, both part-time and full-time, work really hard to maintain robust courses, both in the online learning space, in the course shells, and of course in the classroom. We have specific expectations for blended, hybrid, and online courses. And so I wanted to make sure that you had access to all three of these checklists. There are some distinctions between them, and I just want to, kind of name that and point that out. A blended course means that it meets a lot in person. Okay. Some of your blended courses meet almost 100% in person, but there's that one little element like you could meet online if you had to. But we do have some classes, maybe they meet 2/3 of the time they're in person, and then they have a little bit like an hour of online work a week, right? So those classes do exist, and we refer to those as blended courses. Sometimes they bridge into the hybrid course. For blended and hybrid courses, if you are teaching something mostly in person, there is still the expectation that you are putting material in my courses that include your syllabus, any online learning activities that you want the students to complete outside of class, and also your grade book. And your syllabus and grade book if nothing else, for a blended class, like say you meet 100% in person, you have to still have your syllabus and your updated gradebook in the My Courses shell. So that's a really important part of fulfilling your obligation as an instructor. Okay. Oh, I see that Jamie just put in the chat our advanced tips for My Courses. Thank you so much, Jamie. So again, I encourage you to look through these checklists and make sure you're meeting all the expectations for your course. Okay. It's very important that we have all the material in there. What I think would be obvious, but it's important for us to say, if you are teaching a course that is 100% online, you want to make sure that every course instructional material is available through that online course shell, including links to textbooks if you're using an ebook. So you need to make sure that you're providing students access within that LMS course shell to all the instructional materials. Sending students materials through email, but not including them into the LMS shell might be convenient, but it's actually not indicative of what you're actually providing students. And if we were to do an audit of your course, we wouldn't see all the ways that you're instructing them. So while it can be handy to use other methods of sharing information, we ask that you make all instructional materials available through your online course shell. I want to pause for just a minute. Does anybody have any questions about that expectation? Make sense? Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is RSI. And because we do have a lot of you on this call today, and we have a lot of folks in general at the college who teach online for us, it's important that we give ourselves a little bit of time to think about how can we keep getting better in this online learning space. Teaching and Learning is really happy to partner with you, and we will meet with you virtually. We'll meet with you in person. We want to try to meet you where you're at. And so we're happy to do those individual consultations, but we also provide resources. This is a really handy resource that gives you 3 recommendations for ways that you can improve your use of the online learning space. And so I wanted to show you this and give you a chance to take a look at it. The tips are coming from our audit of the spring, summer, and fall courses of 2024. So Wes, Jamie, and I personally reviewed every online course that was taught within those 3 semesters. It was about 600 courses. And yes, we're very tired. But what we learned is that for the most part, our instructors are doing a good job at demonstrating regular substantive interaction in their courses. Federal regulations require that our classes are run as online, asynchronous or synchronous learning experiences, not correspondence courses. Some of you may have taken a correspondence course at some time in your life where there was like a packet that came to you in the mail, you did the packet, and then you turned everything in at a time when you were finished. We don't teach that way, right? We teach where students are interacting, we're grading, we have back and forth discussions, and the students see us as real people in the classes. It's not a canned course. It's not like a MOOC or like some sort of auto-graded course. That's not what we do here. And so that's what RSI is all about. Participating in discussion forums, like you're a member of the discussion, is one way to show up in your class. And I want to talk about this one for just a second. It's kind of funny to me to think that we would ask a question of a group of students and then walk out of the room, right? I would never do that. I would never say, here's a question, and then just walk away. I would stay and I would listen, and I would probably make some facial expressions, and I would maybe interject or redirect, right? Or correct. I would do those things if I was in a classroom space. But lo and behold, when we show up in an online class, that's exactly what we end up doing. We end up asking a question and then dropping the mic and walking away and just grading. I challenge each of you, if you are teaching online this semester, get into that class discussion, maybe let them respond a little bit, but then you do some responding of your own in a public way so that it looks like you're talking with the students. It's amazing how that will up the game in the class discussions, okay? So I've got some strategies in here. We've got some tools and some time tips. One being, don't respond to everybody. You'll never survive, but respond to like 4 or 5 people, right? It's just enough that they're like, ooh, maybe she's going to respond to my comment. If you've never tried it before, give it a try. Okay. Another tip is to reinforce the student exchanges in the Q&A forum. We do like it when the students are answering each other's questions. And that was something we just talked about a little bit ago. You know, Brown mentioned that he'll encourage students to help each other out. I think that's great. And then we can follow up behind that and say, oh, I love how you answered that question. Here's another tip, right? So us being involved in the Q&A forum is a way of us showing the students that we see that they're helping each other and we support that. And if we need to correct something that's maybe shared that's incorrect, we can always do that as well. Okay. The third tip that you see in here is making video course announcements. And this is something else that was shared earlier. If we can show up in our class, even in a small way, by recording a little video each week and posting that as a course announcement, our students see us, they hear us, they see that we're real people, that there's not a robot teaching the class. And if we can update those videos, so maybe it's clear to them that it's no longer 2021, okay? We've seen some older video content and nothing gives it away more now than a mask, right? And unfortunately, we have seen that in some classes where maybe it's a good video, but if the person is masked, it's a little like that's a little dated at this point. So if you can take some time this semester as you're teaching a module, pop in a new course announcement, let your students see you, that's going to be really helpful. Especially if you're teaching a class that maybe a lot of the content is provided by another instructor, they're watching somebody else give the lectures, you make little video announcements and they see you as they see you as another teacher in the class as opposed to this person's just doing the grading. I'm curious to know if any of you have any questions or comments about RSI. I'll be one of the first people to say that teaching online takes more work than teaching in person. I taught in person for most of my teaching career. I could fake it a little bit, showing up, and oh, I had this idea last night. Maybe I slapped my worksheet together or whatever and walked in and I still pulled it out, right? That happens when you're teaching in person every once in a while. It's really hard to do that when you're teaching online. You've got to be ready ahead of time. You got to have thought of everything. You got to have everything set. And if you don't, then it looks like, you don't have anything together. So I understand and appreciate the time and effort you all put in. And we know that that's a huge part of the lift is the preparation, but the other part is coming in alongside them while they're learning and participating along the way. Okay, I want to also show you a couple other resources that are in this document. One of them is in regards to AI. You're going to see here we have a syllabus statement document. This comes right out of the fall syllabus template. I just pulled it out to give it to you a second way. And I wanted to call your attention to a new aspect of this document that I'm asking you to consider. Okay? At Blue Ridge, every instructor is expected to have a syllabus statement in their syllabus that explains to students your approach to the use of AI in your class. And I want to acknowledge that this could be different from course to course because some courses may be more appropriate for students to use AI in certain assignments than others. In your courses, you need to be thinking about, and I'm sure you already are thinking about, all the ways that AI could be useful or prohibitive to student learning. And as you think through that, then you're going to let your own perspective and as well as the perspective of your colleagues or your lead instructor inform which policy statement you're going to put in that syllabus. When we got started on this AI adventure, not that long ago, a lot of people had use prohibited. Okay, 2 years ago, fall of 23 is when we had our first AI syllabus statement, and a lot of instructors had use prohibited. Some of you probably did. Moving into 2025 fall, I think a lot of people are recognizing that the move now is use directed or use with permission. And the reason that that's the case is because we see now that there are some times where students may benefit from using AI on certain kinds of tasks. So we can work with the students and think about when is AI appropriate and when is it not. I encourage you to check in with your colleagues in your department, find out how they're using AI in their courses. Most of your lead instructors, chairs, and deans have put a lot of time and energy into thinking about how we're approaching AI this fall. So check in with them, ask this question. And if there is a directive like everybody should be using use directed, please do your best to follow that or ask the questions that will help you understand why, like where you're at. As an adjunct instructor, we follow the lead of our supervisors, but we also have room for conversation, and I encourage you to engage in those. I'm seeing some new messages. So Kimberly, yes, Dr. Turk, there is a new syllabus template. I linked it. And if you go back up to the table of content, I want to say it's like on page 4, there's a list of links there, and that syllabus template is linked in there. The main changes in the syllabus template is around AI. Okay. Good question. I'm also seeing a question from Wayne. So as a clinical instructor, you will be able to get into your course. It's possible that you just haven't been added in yet. You won't be making any changes in there. You'll be going in as a grader. So you'll be grading clinical experiences. Okay, so I also wanted to point out to you here under the AI, there's another aspect of this that's optional, but I think it's good for us to point out and maybe even talk about, and that is how you're using AI, okay? I'm curious, and I'm going to challenge you to use the react button in the Zoom call to show us, are you using AI to create instructional materials to help you with your job as a teacher? If you are, feel free to do a thumbs up. You can also do it on camera if you like being a real life person on camera. But I'm curious to know who's using AI tools to do some of their work. Great. I see a thumbs up. Any others? Yes.
Yes.
We should be, right? It creates a lot of efficiencies for us. It can really improve our productivity in certain ways. Now, I do see a thumbs down, and Dr. Turk, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this if you're open to sharing. Challenge by choice.
It just so far isn't something that has been needed for me. I just, yeah, no, I've been doing it a long time. I kind of have my questions, and yeah, I just haven't felt like I needed it.
I got it. I get it. Yeah. I'm in a similar space a lot with my writing because I'm a writing person. I'm like, I don't need it to do any writing for me. I'm perfectly happy being Sarah GPT, right? But there are some things that I have used it for. Just today, I couldn't think of a silly like name for the anchor points. I was like, I want to call it resources. Give me a something. And it helped me with that. Right. So every once in a while, it'll be more clever than me. Just every once in a while. It helps me a lot with visuals, it helps me with the art. But a lot of our instructors are finding it to be useful in other ways too, right? Coming up with scenarios. If you're a clinical instructor, you're probably already thinking about what am I going to talk to my students about before they go out to their different assignments on the floor. Coming up with scenarios that you can talk through together is a really great teacher activity, right? Like that's a thing that we do as teachers. It's like, oh, I need to come up with a scenario or a case study. But gosh, it gets tiring. And wouldn't it be nice if you could just type in, I need some scenarios. This is the topic that we're covering today. We're going to do wound care. We're on this kind of floor. ChatGPT or Gemini, they can give you 5 or 6 in about 10 seconds, and then you can spend time reviewing those and picking out 1 or 2 that you want to use with your students. So if you're looking for examples of things, problems, some of our math teachers are using it to generate more problems because it can generate so many more problems so much more quickly. So for those, in those ways, I think it's a really great time saver. Okay. What I'm asking you to consider here with this optional is how comfortable are you broadcasting to your students the way that you're using it? And I think it's important to consider our role. We're models for appropriate, ethical, responsible use of AI. If we can be transparent about how we're using the tool and coach students to use the tool in similar ethical, responsible ways, we do them a service. So I encourage you to think about how you would broadcast that in different places and spaces, okay? I do not encourage you to use AI tools to grade student work. That is our responsibility. That is our job. However, you can use AI tools and you can encourage your students to use AI tools to have a pre-assessment, a pre-grade, right? So you can even tell your students, throw it into chat, see how it would grade it, give it my rubric, see how it would grade it. And they could use that as a way of revising on their own. Lots of students are using it for tutoring. They're using it to prompt, and we're happy in teaching and learning. We're happy to direct you to some resources around that. There are many students who are now feeling like they have access to the kinds of tutoring resources that in the previous, in previous decades, your rich parents had to buy for you, right? Now we have more democratization of some of the learning technology and learning tools. So I think that there's a lot of benefit to it, but we have to coach and guide our students. And you're going to hear so much more about AI as the year continues. We're going to continue to provide PD around it, and you'll see it in our articles that we write in the newsletter and our, so keep an ear out for guidance from us. Get on some blogs like Jennifer talked about. I've joined like 7 or 8 different Facebook groups around teaching with AI. I get a couple different Substack blogs from people like Ethan Mollick and Leon Furs. There's so many smart people writing about it that we have a lot to learn still. Okay. The last thing I wanted to touch on here is creating digitally accessible course materials. And this is in direct relation to the new legislation that's come out that's going to be enacted as of April of 2026. So a little less than a year from now. We're going to be expected to provide some, more digital access to our course materials in my courses. And you may have already heard about this. This may be something that you're already familiar with. This resource just kind of walks you through some guiding principles. One of the first things that we did was we asked folks to start making sure that every image in their class, in their course resources, everything had alt text. That's just one step, right? Another step is going to be making sure that your documents are screen reader friendly. So there's lots of little things that we're going to be doing. I wanted to show you this principles document so that you would have access to that, okay? And it's got 10 tips. It talks, or 10 principles. It talks to you about those principles and attaches them to the standards that guide our use of accessibility in electronic spaces. Okay. So lots and lots of resources just in this one document. I have another document that I need to share with you. And I'm going to upload that now. It's going to come through as a PDF. And I can stop sharing my screen. That PDF is going to give you access to behavior assessment reporting, watermark, the library, student services. It's a pretty thick document, but if you just scroll down, you're going to see there's all sorts of good information from our many different student support services here on campus. Okay. And I know somebody asked earlier about, Randy, I think it was you asked about tutoring. There's some really great information there about tutoring with Thinking Storm. And I'm glad you mentioned Teachermatic. Yeah, we have access to Teachermatic here. If you would like a Teachermatic license, let me know, because we sign people up who request it. Not every, we don't automatically enroll you with that, but it's an AI tool that's specific for teachers. I don't think you'd believe me if I told you I was worried that we wouldn't have enough to talk about. There's so much to cover at the beginning of the year, and I appreciate that